Alright, so this one's going to be a bit of a roller coaster ride. I'm going to be documenting my experience of buying a high dollar Yu-Gi-Oh card from TCG Player Direct, and I'm going to be recording the process from start to finish. Alright, so the reason why I'm making this video is because I want a Stardust Dragon Collector's Rare. Doesn't have to be first edition, unlimited, I'll take it, right? And I was like, great, TCG Player Direct offers it, and I don't want to go through all like the BS of dealing with individual people and having all these issues, and I trust TCG Player, so I thought this should be like a easy and painless process, right? Right? No. So, to explain the numbers on the screen first, the +1 you see on the right here is one order that doesn't show up because for whatever reason it was canceled, and I'm going to explain that in detail. And then on the 28th was another order that was made when they told me to reorder it because of the issues. And then that had an issue, and then the one that was done yesterday on the 3rd, that was the other order that was made, which I'm having another issue with it as well too, and which is why I'm kind of documenting my experience just to show you sometimes the process isn't perfect and this could happen to you as well too. And before I continue on with the video, I just wanted to go over the positives, because overall I've had positive experiences with TCG Player Direct and TCG Player in general. They do have their buyer safeguard where anytime I've ever been unhappy about something, I've had an issue with the order, someone has always resolved it for me. So it's not all negative. And to give an example of the positives as well as set the expectations of what you'll get with TCG Player Direct, I'm just going to show you. Normally when you order from TCG Player Direct, you'll get one of these like cardboard backers inside a white envelope. And it's normally with cards that are under $10, or you just like order a single that's not really that expensive. They'll come in these cardboard backers in a plain white envelope, and it'll come in a sleeve. And then I'm going to use this Guido as an example because I already took the card out. It'll come in a sleeve as well as I think the packing slip in there, right? I've never really had an issue with the cards getting damaged this way, but it's just something to be aware of if it really bothers you where you're not really comfortable when cards don't come in top loaders. And then I'm going to give an example of an old Magic the Gathering card. So this Ebon Dragon. So Ebon Dragon's from the Portal set from like almost 20, 30 years ago at this point. I feel old just saying that. And it was just a card that for me was very memorable because Portal was one of the first Magic the Gathering sets that I played when I was a kid. And I really wanted a copy of it. And they had one for near mint. So this is just an example of it, and it came exactly as described, no issues at all. I ordered another card, which is the Maximum Gold Elemental Hero Neos. This card I think is like less than $1. It was through TCG Player Direct, and mailed it out. In general, it's near mint. I would probably say the problem I had with this was that there was like a scuff here, but that's very, 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 very common with Maximum Gold rares where they could have scuffs on them, but it's just something to be aware about, right? Because let's say, for example, I bought also a Dark Magician, which is also a Maximum Gold rare. This one came out actually flawless and didn't have any issues at all as far as I noticed. But it's something to be concerned about, right? Because when you're thinking about this, if I'm buying this Neos and if it wasn't worth $1, and if you're a collector, would it bother you that there's a scuff on there? But the one positive thing about buying from TCG Player is that, you know what? If you're truly unhappy about something, they always try to make it right to you. And they'll try to, resolve the situation for you, whether it be like a partial refund or whatever it is, right? So they always try to resolve it through you, as opposed to if you're to deal with an individual seller, they might just tell you to bugger off and just, that's it. Another experience I had was when you buy one expensive card, more expensive card, and then a bunch of commons. So I had a project with these Stardust Dragons where I needed like 20 copies of these. Just regular Toon Chaos Stardust Dragons, not the collector's rare one. And I ordered 20 of them, and all near mint. I had the differentiation between the first editions and non-first editions, and they all came exactly in the quantity and the quality that I wanted. No issues there. But Since I made the same order with a $20 card, what they ended up doing was packing this card along with the Stardust Dragons, and the $20 card actually doesn't come in a top loader, and they're all just like kind of like in a team bag together, and they just ship it to you inside a bubble mailer with tracking. But it's just something to be concerned about, because for some people it might bother you that it's not in a top loader, and it could potentially get damaged, right? But these are just things that I would have to say, like, when it comes to TCG Player Direct overall, I have no issues with it. I think I have a very positive look on it in regards to, if you're looking to buy cards, you don't want to deal with regular sellers, and you want close to near mint, quality cards, then I recommend TCG Player Direct. The issue I have is, this is my first time buying a high dollar card from them, which is the Stardust Dragon Collector's Rare. I've never really bought anything through TCG Player Direct that's more expensive, and that's why I'm documenting this, because it's been kind of an issue, and I think it's something to know. Another thing I also wanted to point out as well too is, they actually recently sent out an email to people that they started doing TCG Player Direct for Yu-Gi-Oh! On the 24th of February. And which I find a little bit weird, because previously I think I bought TCG Player Direct orders with Yu-Gi-Oh! Before, even before February, so I don't know if it's something like they've been piloting with like trusted sellers prior to this. But it's just something to be aware about. But this is exactly why I kind of made a video, because you might be someone that's looking to buy a Yu-Gi-Oh! Card from TCG Player Direct and end up with the same issues that I have. Alright, so first we'll start off with how we even got here in the first place. The prices of Luber went up, and Border Enchantress went up, and I ended up selling them, along with a bunch of other like smaller cards as well too. So I was like, you know what? I kind of been wanting a Stardust Dragon for a while in the higher rarity form, so let me just go ahead and pull the trigger on the Stardust Dragon, because great, they have it on TCG Player Direct. There's like multiple sellers with it on TCG Player Direct, right? So let me just buy it. I'll get it near mint unlimited, and most likely they're gonna double check it and make sure that I get a good quality card like every other card that I've ordered so far. It didn't turn out that way, right? As you see here, I made the order first on the 24th. Let's just ignore the fact that it was canceled and they refunded me, but let's just remember first that I made the order on the 24th. So my first gripe with TCG Player Direct orders that I noticed, and it's been kind of a headache, is paying for expedited shipping. When it comes to expedited shipping, I think they should just remove that option altogether, and I'm going to explain why. Whenever you order cards on TCG Player in general, if you're ordering something like a plain common card that's just getting mailed in like a regular plain white envelope, that's when it's standard shipping 12 to 15 days. Understandable. Anything over $20 to $30 normally is recommended that you have tracking, right? So it's going to be mailed in like a bubble mailer. So initially what I thought was, oh, expedited shipping means that they're going to speed up the process or whatever it is. So it's listed as, oh, you're going to get it within 4 days. And their recommended says that it be shipped by the seller within 1 business day and received by you in 4 business days, right? But in reality, it doesn't speed up the process at all. So I actually had an email exchange with a TCG Player customer service, and when I asked them about it, so what they pretty much said was, expedited shipping only speeds up the process that the card arrives to you after it leaves their authentication center. Meaning that they could take as long as they want in the authentication process, and it doesn't actually mean that your card is going to get mailed out in the next business day. So in actuality, you're paying that $5.99. In this case, I paid that $5.99 for no reason at all. So yeah, I think that for expedited shipping, they should just incorporate it and make it so, you know what it pretty much means is that they're just going to mail it out in a bubble mailer with tracking, and that's it. It's not like it actually speeds up the actual process of you getting it. So for anything over $20, $30, I think they should just remove the fact that they're giving you an option for expedited shipping, because in reality, they're never going to ship you a high dollar card in a plain white envelope with no tracking, because you could just say that you didn't receive it. So it's almost guaranteed that they're going to give you a bubble mailer with tracking regardless anyway. So why is it an option for customers to pay $5.99 to get expedited shipping when it doesn't speed up the process at all, and they were gonna get it to begin with anyways. Alright, so this is when this whole headache started, and I'm gonna start from the beginning of my first order. So you see here, on the February 24th, I ordered my first Stardust Dragon Collector's Rare. And great, I received that email as you see on the screen here. It's been processed, whatever. So the 24th is on the Thursday of 2022, February. And then on the 25th, I was like, great, TCG Player Direct has shipped my Stardust Dragon. And that's on the Friday, right? And then I see, it's a little bit weird. Normally, if I ship an order, if it has like a tracking number on Friday, then even though Saturday, Sunday are technically not business days, USPS would still be moving these orders if it actually shipped out. But 26, nothing. Don't see it moving. Just says tracking number made. 27th, nothing. Doesn't move. 28th, nothing. Doesn't move. And then, boom, I randomly get an email in a message from TCG Player saying that I got a refund for this order. And to kind of clarify, I was a little bit concerned about expedited shipping, since at first I thought expedited meant like, oh, they're going to speed it up. And this is prior to me sending an email. And when I messaged out to TCG Player, they told me, oh, okay, the priority ship order arrives 3 to 4 business days. And they even said that this order will be shipped on the 25th. That is shipped out today. So I was like, oh great, it's gonna be shipped out today, right? And then this is why I was so shocked that they told me that the order ended up being canceled. Alright, so to clarify things, I blocked out the customer service rep's name because they're just working there, it's not their fault. And the reason why I was confused about expedited shipping and the order getting canceled in general is because, first, my assumption was if you're paying for expedited shipping, you want it mailed out the next business day, not for me to just pay $6 for no reason at all. Second is because when I asked them about it in detail, they told me that pretty much it's 3 to 4 business days, right, that you'll get it. It's priority shipped. And then they told me that the order will be shipped out today, which was on the 25th at the time, and I'll receive it by March 3rd, which is a couple business days later, which is great. I was like, that means my order is shipped, everything's fine, I just had to wait for it. Which is why I was so confused that it was canceled. The second part of this exchange that I wanted to highlight, again, this is no fault of the customer service rep, was in regards to card conditions. Since I was asking about the shipping anyways, I figured I might as well like ask because it's my first time buying a high dollar card off of TCG Player Direct. And I was like, what exactly constitutes as, me getting a card that's not damaged? Is it possible that I could end up getting a card that's damaged? And then they told me pretty much that, oh, TCG Player has this card conditioning guide, which I already went over why it makes no sense. But that was another video, right? I'm not going to go over that again. And then they told me that it sounds like you're looking for mint cards from our sellers when TCG Player sellers only sell near mint or everything and below. And that near mint's the highest condition available on our platform, as our site is geared towards providing cards for players. Which is where I have that gripe. So the gripe I have with this is that, again, I have that TCG Player Direct like buyer's guarantee that, they mostly make things right with you. If you get a card that's like messed up, then they're going to take care of you, right? But the problem I have with this is that who actually buys high rarity cards that are not mint and damaged? You're telling me that someone that's going to buy a Starlight Rare or any kind of Pokemon card, Magic card for $500, $600, couple $100, like sometimes even thousands of dollars, and you're telling me that someone's going to expect a non-mint card when they spend that much money, and they're going to want a card that's considered near mint and that has like a ding, a scratch, or like any sort of damage on it? I don't think anyone wants to buy these high rarity cards to shove it into their deck most of the time. Most of the time people are going to be collectors, right? So from this exchange, it sounds like, based on, I guess, like whatever, text that they have on how to respond to customers, is that they're mostly geared towards just players alone. But as a player and a collector, again, who actually spends thousands of dollars on you know, collector type cards that are high rarity just for it to be damaged. I don't think anyone wants a damaged card, which is, I guess, my problem with the fact that the standard for near mint foils are not higher. Alright, so remember when they sent me the message saying that, when I wanted to clarify things about expedited shipping, they told me that the order will be shipped out today on the 25th, which did end up happening sort of when I received the email that the order was shipped. And then after I received the email, I thought everything was fine throughout the weekend. So the 25th was the Friday that they said they shipped it. 24th was when I made the order. And after the weekend, on the 28th is when they sent me the email saying that they canceled it. And then their cancellation reason was because, TCG Player is refunding this card due to unfortunate inventory issues. And then the seller is the one that sent this message. And they gave me like $1 credit to order from another seller on the website. But this is the really confusing part. And I'm going to go over TCG Player Direct, which is gonna be like a little bit of explanation as to why this is really confusing. Alright, so I was a little bit confused as to how TCG Player Direct works, because this is the video that they have on YouTube explaining how TCG Player Direct works, and I'm gonna, you'll see kind of what I mean.
Introducing Direct by TCG Player. Here's how it works. List your cards. Set your prices. Sell your cards. Direct by TCG Player ships on your behalf using our own inventory. Ship us copies of your sold cards. They go back on our shelves to replenish our inventory.
Alright, so based on this infomercial, I guess, on how TCG Player Direct works for sellers, is that how it works should be that, okay, if you buy a card from TCG Player Direct, it gets shipped from their inventory, and then the seller is what sends them the card to replenish it, which is exactly why it kind of didn't make sense to me why my order was canceled, saying that they had an inventory issue from the seller's end. And this is the part that's really confusing, right? When you dig really deep into the help pages, you'll see that TCG Player explains how you could have direct qualified sellers, but sometimes the item would still come from the seller directly. So in this case, for example, how you tell when they're selling from TCG Player directly sending it to you is that they have this blue box, and in the case that if the seller has an item that doesn't directly come from them, TCG Player, then it'll be in the regular shipping, which would be in the regular gray boxes, right? In my case, I made sure that I didn't want to deal with all this crap, which is why TCG Player Direct exists to begin with, right? So I ordered directly from them, and I made sure that it was directly from them, which is why I opted for the expedited shipping, right? And going back to why I was really confused as to why I received the cancellation message from TCG Player, despite them telling me that, the item was being shipped out on the 25th, or should have shipped out on the 25th. And a couple days later, after the weekend, on Monday, is when they told me that it canceled, and I got that message from the seller saying that they have an inventory issue. So there's this sort of disconnect that just kind of makes no sense. But you know what? At this point, it's my first time ordering it. I've never had any issues before, so no harm, no foul, right? I mean, the one thing to note down is that the message that was sent to me was through the seller, not TCG Player directly. So TCG Player actually never reached out to me personally to let me know, like, okay, we messed up on our end or whatever it is, so here are the options to fix it. It was just the seller saying, oh, I had an inventory issue, so here's $1 for you to order it through someone else. Whatever, doesn't matter. But the confusing part about this is going back to, remember when I showed you the video that they had TCG Player Direct, how it works is that TCG Player has their card in inventory that they authenticate, they make sure that it's the quality that they're listing it as, so that way when they ship it out, let's say near mint, then they get replenished by the seller who sends them that near mint card to go back into their inventory. So at this point I was like, you know what, let me just order it again and then let's just see what happens. But since TCG Player never messaged me directly, I was like, you know what, let me just be proactive about it just to clarify how it works, which goes back to why this is really confusing. When I go back to ask them about it, of course I blotted out their customer service name and whatever it is. They let me know that they canceled my order because their direct inventory was out of stock, which kind of makes no sense, right? So if their direct inventory is out of stock, that means that, but then I'm hearing that the seller's inventory was out of stock. And then, okay, and then we'll go on from there for now. And then it says that the second order that I ended up making on the 28th went off without a hitch. And that they're sorry about the confusion on the process of direct. So they explained to me that how direct works is the customer places the order, and then the order is packed and shipped by TCG Player, and then but the cards are owned by the store themselves, which is where my order came from. So this is the confusing part, right? So if their direct inventory is out of stock, how is it possible that they told me that on Monday I were to order the same order from TCG Player Direct, and it went off without a hitch at this point? But does that make any sense to you? That, I mean, I was kind of suspicious of it to begin with. That, first of all, I'm getting confusing messages between the seller and TCG Player Direct, as well as the fact that how is it possible that they've restocked on a niche card like a collector's rare Stardust Dragon within the same day that their inventory was out of stock? How is that not confusing? So at this point, I feel like I'm the idiot when I'm asking them all these questions, because the answers just all seem so obvious. Because at this point, it seems like the people that work there seem to have no idea how the TCG Player Direct inventory works and how to explain it to their customers. Because based on what they say is that the card is mailed out from TCG Player Direct, and the cards themselves are owned by the stores, right? And then based on their video that I showed you, is that what happens is they have an inventory that they authenticated, is going to be mint, and they send it out to you, and then it gets replenished by the store. So whatever, the store in this case didn't have inventory, I'll just count it as, okay, maybe it's a store issue. But how are you going to tell me that their inventory is out of stock? TCG Player Direct's inventory is out of stock. And then on the same day, they told me to just place the order, and it went through without a hitch, and that, you know, this order works, and they somehow magically found another collector's rare Stardust Dragon to ship out to me. And the other thing is that whenever I've asked multiple representatives in regards to expedited shipping, and no one seems to understand the question that I'm asking. I don't know if I'm stupid or something, but when I'm asking him a question about expedited shipping, what I'm asking him is that, how does it make any sense that I'm paying $6 for expedited shipping when you're going to mail it out to me in a bubble mailer and with tracking to begin with anyway? So the difference between expedited shipping and non-expedited shipping is pretty much nothing at all. So I'm asking them, why am I paying $6 for absolutely nothing when you would have mailed it out the same way regardless? And they never seem to understand my question, and every time I would just get a response saying that, you know, how expedited shipping works, it only speeds up the process that the card arrives to you after it goes out of their authentication center. So, alright, so shipping aside, I'll stop talking about it. That's my gripe, to be honest, as well. But let's just see what happens now after I place the order again. I should have seen this coming. I don't even know if I should laugh or cry about this. But, so on the 28th, I placed the order again, despite me knowing I probably should have known better. So on the 28th, I ordered it. They told me, okay, it went off without a hitch. And then so this is the 28th, which is on Monday, right? So on the 28th is a Monday. And then on the 1st, which is the day after, which is March 1st, they told me that the card is mailed out. Great, this time it's shipped. They fixed their issues, and I should be getting my card, right? Without a hitch, right? Right?
Oh my god! No.
I can't even make this up. So on March 1st, it said that the order was shipped again, went off without a hitch, remember, And then 2 days later, on March 3rd, I get this email telling me, thank you for choosing TCG Player Direct, but while packaging your order, we noticed that, unfortunately, we're missing your Stardust Dragon Collector's Rare, and we're sorry about the inventory error. But because they don't want to delay my order, they're going to order the card from another seller on the platform, I guess at no cost, but I guess that's some sort of consolation that they're trying to resolve this for me. I have an issue with that, which I'll go over afterwards. But I don't know why they're talking about how, the rest of my order, since it was only one card in order. But to kind of double back on the bottom here is when they're telling me the new order is placed for me. Oh, thank you. It's going to be on March 18th to March 22nd. I'll end up getting it, which is like almost like 3 weeks later that they're expecting this to arrive to me. Which kind of doubles back on, like, why did I pay $5.99 for expedited shipping for me to go through all of this? Again, I probably should have known better before I made the second order and fall for the same trap again. But now we're going to talk about the part where they order from another seller on the platform. Alright, before I go into the individual seller that they ended up getting a card for me from, the reason why I want to buy from TCG Player Direct is because, alright, first of all, there's some sellers that list pictures of their cards and, and great, it looks like a collector's rare or shiny or whatever it is, they list the card condition. But then you have these other clowns on TCG Player who are listing their cards as collector's rare when really obviously that these are not collector's rare, and this guy's selling a regular rare for like $130. And that's not even one example, right? There's another guy that's also listing a regular rare that's also selling it for like $140 or $150, listing it as a collector's rare with a picture on it. I've already actually reported these listings, I think 2 weeks ago, and I don't think TCG Player has done anything about it at all. And the fact that you're able to list it with pictures of regular rares selling as collector's rares, who's to say that all these other listers that are not listing it with pictures are also selling regular rares as collector's rares? So on one hand, great, you're trying to resolve this for me as compared to the first time where you just kind of told me to fuck off and ignored me. So the second time they're trying to resolve this issue for me by, we don't want you to wait, so we're going to place an order for you because I guess they don't have it in their inventory. But the problem with this is that I chose to buy from TCG Player Direct because I don't want to deal with these individual sellers who are going to screw me over and quite possibly send me a non-collector's rare saying that as a collector's rare. And all these other things like card condition issues where, they might be deceptive about it, right? So they did let me know that, okay, this is going to be the seller that we made your order from and they're going to ship it to you. So I was like, all right, let me just do a little bit of research on this seller. And to be transparent about it, I did respond to TCG Player and I'm waiting for them to respond to me. So we're going to, I guess, show a response if they end up giving me one. I let them know my concerns in regards to, one, the order didn't show up in my order history, which is because they ordered it for me. Understandable. But the fact that I don't have any kind of tracking at all means that how am I supposed to know I'm even going to get it? Am I going to be out of luck if I don't receive it? Second is that I paid for expedited shipping on my order. In this case, their estimated shipping time is almost half a month to almost a month. And then the main thing I'm concerned about is card condition. And I typed in detail about it in my message, so I'm just gonna wait their response. But I'm gonna go over with you guys in regards to why I think it was problematic for them to buy it through the certain seller that they chose. So the first thing I'm gonna point out is that they chose to buy it from a seller that is a gold star seller. Great, but that just means that I'm a gold star seller too. It just means that you sell a lot of cards with mostly positive ratings. And the gripe I have with this is that if I'm buying from TCG Player Direct, I'm looking to buy directly from TCG Player that they're authenticating that the card is in the condition that I want. And a lot of times when it comes to, the stores, debatable. It's debatable whether or not their condition is higher. But as for compared to random sellers that are just someone like me that's just shipping from my house, most people are very dishonest about card condition, and that was my concern, right? There's no way for me to scroll through this with you guys without putting this guy on blast because it shows the shop name and everything, right? But I went through almost like most of the person's inventory, especially when it comes to older cards or more expensive cards. And this is how you shop on TCG Player, and when you could tell a seller is dishonest about card conditions. Every single card I looked at this seller's inventory, he lists everything as near mint. Whether it's the Dark Magician Girl from Magician's Force, 10,000 Dragon, that's most recent, old prize cards, old Pokemon cards, ultimate rares from the old tournament packs or whatever it is, right? Every single card this person lists is all near mint. I wasn't able to find anything that was light played at all. And if you're shopping on TCG Player, these are the sellers that you have to watch out for, because when it comes to card conditions, how you tell if a seller is an honest seller is when they list a mix of cards that are always light played, damaged, or whatever it is. You're gonna find cards that are in different conditions, right? But when you see a seller that lists everything as near mint, you're almost guaranteed that you're not going to get near mint cards or mint cards. They're just hiding flaws on cards and hoping that it passes through on near mint, that people won't notice or return it, and hope to just screw you over, which this is a really big concern of mine, the fact that they chose this seller. And I guess we'll wait for TCG Player's response as to, I guess, how they're going to address my concerns, because I really don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, if you're shopping, the reason why I chose TCG Player Direct is because they have the buyer's guarantee. I know that they're going to check the card, at least for the most part, that it's not damaged, right? But as for a seller like this that lists everything as near mint, trust me, I went through pages and pages and pages. I couldn't find a single non-near mint card that they list. That's a really big issue, and if I'm paying for a collector's rare, then I don't want a messed up card. Alright, and to further cement why I feel like I am gonna be screwed over, and this is gonna be an even bigger headache than it already has been, is that when I looked into the buyer's feedback, so I've already looked at, okay, the guy lists every single card as near mint. This is gonna be an issue. You just know it, right? So when I look at their neutral feedback, all you see here is people talking about how, cards were not in the condition that I wanted it for, ordered this, but got light played, or somewhat like moderate play. Every single neutral feedback is just someone saying that they got a card that they didn't want, right? And then if you look at the negative feedback, you're gonna see the same thing again. Every single person talking about how their order is, marked up. Every order is light played, mildly played. Nothing is near mint. It has creases, it has dents, it has damages, it has scratches. So I'm pretty sure this is gonna end up horrible. And like I said, I'm gonna be transparent and say that I'm gonna be fair and let TCG Player get back to me on this and see what they say. But so far, it's been really disappointing, and it should not be this hard to buy cards, especially if I wanted to buy from TCG Player Direct. It should have been straightforward, but right now it's anything but straightforward.
A few moments later.
Alright, so it's a day later, and TCG Player actually got back to me in regards to my question about expedited shipping, as well as, me paying for it and it taking longer. So they reached out to the seller to have it shipped out expedited. And then they also went out of the way and refunded me for the $6 for the expedited shipping as well too. And then now I think with the tracking number that I looked up on Informed Delivery, after they told the seller to expedite it, it should be coming on the 8th. So overall, if you see on the calendar here, the process itself wasn't that long. So we started on the 24th, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, around 6 business days so far, right? And supposedly it's arriving on the 8th, so the process has been around a week and a half. But overall, I would have to say, again, the most positive part is dealing with TCG Player, that I do have customer service that's going to help me, as opposed to if I were to buy anywhere else like eBay or something like that, where if something goes wrong a lot of times, you're just kind of out of luck. But yeah, I'm a little bit skeptical, like I said, with the information that I looked up on the seller and how they list everything as near mint, but at this point there's really nothing I could do, and they said that I am still covered by the buyer safeguard, so let's just see how it turns out. Alright, so it's Monday the 7th, and it already arrived. I'm going to go over it as I unpack it, and then I just wanted to go over also my exchange with TCG Player over the weekend. I did wanted to just let the person that I was dealing with, it was one customer service person that, you know, it wasn't really their fault, but I knew I was just frustrated overall in regards to the process, as well as my concerns about the card condition, since it was with a seller that I might not have been comfortable with if I were to buy myself. And they were really polite, and they did let me know, okay, you know, all the tracking numbers and whatnot. And again, I just want to touch base that throughout this whole process, I do think TCG Player with their customer service is really helpful. And as I unpack this, you're going to have to bear with the pair for a little bit. It's going to be covering the screen so I don't show my address. But let's just see how the card ends up being. Alright, so we unpacked it, and first I just want to go over, I think, the differentiation between expedited shipping, at least when it came to the individual seller. So when TCG Player notified the seller that I didn't want it on regular shipping, the difference between it was they actually had a packing already for first class from USPS or through pirate ship, and then afterwards when TCG Player notified them, that's when they ended up sending it by priority mail. So depending on where you live, I guess, yes, it does arrive faster. As for up until now, I still haven't received something from TCG Player with expedited mail, so I don't know as for if they actually end up using a priority mail envelope as opposed to first class. So I can't really speak on that behalf. And also, it might vary depending on your location as well, too. Since TCG Players is in Albany, and I live in New York, regardless, it still probably would have arrived pretty quick anyways. Alright, so we unpacked the card, and I already sleeved it up myself, and overall the card, I would say, was pretty much flawless with no issues, at least on the front. You did see me kind of linger on the back and look at the bottom here a little bit. It's kind of really hard to see in the picture, but there was a black dot here, which I did end up removing, and that was ending up being like a tiny dent. But overall, I would say in general, the card came in as described, a near mint condition, and I was kind of a negative Nancy for no reason. But I mean, given that I did have good reason as to why I felt like I might not end up receiving a card that's near mint. So at the end of the day, there's goods and bads about TCG Player, but I would probably lean towards more of recommending it for a few reasons, and I'm going to explain. The actual process itself actually took longer than I imagined, where if I think they had the card in their inventory, it would have arrived to me pretty fast within a couple days. But in this case, as you see here, it started on the 24th and I actually received it on the 7th, which is still faster than probably what it could have been. Definitely the best thing about using TCG Player, whether it's direct or not, is their customer service. Anytime I've ever had an issue, any kind of concern or whatever it is, the first time was kind of a hiccup where I just ended up got refunded with no kind of resolution. The second time I ordered it and I reached out to them, they made sure I was taken care of. As you saw in the exchanges, anytime I had a question, they responded within the day or the next day. And then they made sure to assure me that, okay, like if I have an issue, I do have that buyer's protection where they would end up just figuring out for me. And then also like the whole expedited shipping thing, which honestly I'm still confused about. The seller, individual seller which they ordered it from, ended up expediting it through priority mail. But as for if I were to order from TCG Player Direct, I'm still kind of unsure how that expedited shipping works. It works out for me since I'm near them. I think they're in Syracuse, and I'm in New York, so it's not far. So it would have arrived to me fast regardless. But as for if you lived further away, whether or not they would have actually bumped it up to actual USPS priority mail as opposed to just mailing it out to you in a regular first class mailing with a tracking, I'm not really sure. And I see TCG Player as like kind of like the Amazon of, I guess, buying cards, where if you have an issue, they're gonna deal with it and they're gonna mediate or just find a resolution for you, as compared to if you're to buy on eBay or through individual people. If you have an issue, most of the time you're just out of luck. And the gripes I have though, right, I think Yu-Gi-Oh is new to the actual system, so as for the actual inventory, I don't think they've actually figured it out yet, especially with more rare cards like Collector's Rare and Starlight Rares. I don't believe that you'll have issues buying cards under $30. As I shown, I bought like the Neos, the Dark Magician, any other premium gold card, any card under $20, $30. I don't believe you'll have any issues with it at all because they're pretty common. But as for if you were to actually buy cards like Starlight Rares or any card that's considered more limited, like per case and like very exclusive, then I can see you having a lot of issues with it. Again, going back to the fact that their actual card conditioning guide is very, very generous when it comes to the actual card itself and what's considered near mint. Again, they have no category for mint cards, and I'm not an actual grader. I don't plan to send the cards to grade, but as for if I'm actually buying a card that's a little bit more expensive, I would expect there to not have scratches, not have print lines, not be dented, right? But as for their actual category on what's considered near mint, it's very, very generous and very, very like just kind of up to your interpretation. So you could end up with a card that does have a small dent in it, does have things in it. In this case, I lucked out, right? I didn't really have an issue. I mean, I did end up having like a small dent on the back where it was practically not noticeable. But as for if it was someone that's buying an actual even more expensive card, like a Starlight Rare for $600-700 or more or whatnot, I would assume you might not be happy if you end up getting a card that is dented. So the fact that there's no pictures when it comes to buying expensive cards, I think that is an issue. Of course, realistically though, the logistics of actually having an actual inventory where you have specific cards where you have pictures of, and you have in the system where you're shipping it out to customers, and especially if it's like a large catalog of cards, I just don't see how it's possible. But for anyone that's looking to actually, I guess, like grade cards, or just you're very, very, very nitpicky about card conditioning, it's kind of like a roll of a dice in regards to what the actual result of what kind of card you end up getting, until I guess maybe in the future they have some sort of system that they actually are able to show you pictures of the card. So at the end of the day, I would say that, would I recommend TCG Player Direct? I would say yes, especially if you're looking for anything on the lower end that's under $30 or under $50 in general. But anything more expensive, I would say yes, but with a caveat to it though. And it's that if you're looking to just purely get cards that are mint, or you're looking to grade the cards, I would never recommend you ever buying cards with no pictures, because most of the time, even if a card is near mint, it could be completely off center, or it could just have any kind of slight imperfections, right? When it comes to cards that you're looking for mint, whether you're grading or you're just very nitpicky about card conditions, you're probably better off getting cards with pictures and make sure that the seller highlights all the damage and whatnot. So that's kind of like when you lean towards buying with people directly or through eBay. But the problem with that also is sometimes people that take pictures, they don't show all the imperfections anyway, so you might end up still getting a card that's dinged. Whereas opposed to if you were to buy on TCG Player, then you do have that buyer safeguards. And especially my main reason with buying through Direct is that they would figure it out for me, right? Especially in this case, since I'm not looking for purely mint, I'm just hoping to not get a card that's like dinged or with like a bunch of dents or like a huge scratch on it. But yeah, overall at the end of the day, I ended up with a collector's rare that I wanted. I got my Stardust Dragon, and the only tiny nitpick would have been that tiny dent in the back, which was very small and not really noticeable, so it's not too big of a deal. It's still near mint, but could it have ended up badly? Yeah, it could have. But did it though? No. And I still was comfortable enough with the transaction to know that if something were to go wrong and I did end up getting a card that was messed up, they would have taken care of me. And that wraps it up. Thank you for watching. I hope this video was informative so that when you're making a decision on where to buy your cards, that way you could kind of weigh the pros and the cons and you know what to expect throughout the process of using this service. And thank you everyone that's been subscribing to the channel, liking the videos and all that stuff. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.